All right, we are back with the Came Out Swinging podcast. My name is Joey.
What up, it's Gliz.
And we are back with episode 5, which we are titling The World Right Now in Late 2024. As you can tell, if you have been a long-time listener or just a first-time listener, if you look at the dates on our podcast episodes, we have not uploaded an episode in about 6 months. Glizzy's been busy, I've been busy, and we're finally getting back into it. And today we're going to start out strong talking about how it's been 75 degrees in November. What's been going on, dude? I don't understand this.
Dude, have you ever wear like hoochie daddies or like booty ass shorts in November?
It's wild to even think that I've been seeing people in flip-flops and shorts and tank tops walking down the street.
Yeah,
I don't understand it.
Like your birthday's coming up. Like that's like strange.
Yeah. 11 days from the making of this episode, and it's wild to think that I may be able to put on shorts when we go out that night. I don't know. But I think that Mother Nature is mad at us and has been mad at us for a very long time.
Just look at what's going on in Jersey, dude. There's like fires brewing out.
Yeah, fire bans and crazy fires that have been happening that are only reserved, I guess, for West Coast people to worry about, right?
Yeah, dude. I mean, I lived in California and New Mexico, so pretty familiar with like wildfires. Like I've never heard of it like really coming out here on the East Coast. I mean, granted, we did have that big old fire in Canada that like smoked out pretty much all of Philadelphia for a while. But
yeah, there was I forget when it was. It was like 2 weeks ago. I woke up and the South Philly Facebook group that I'm in, this one girl posted saying how the air quality was so shit. And I looked for myself and it was all near my neighborhood. And then I looked in the news and there was a huge fire like right below in like South Jersey, and the wind was blowing all of the smoke to South Philly. And that's why like the air quality was crazy. And I'm like, how did this fire start? And then I like did some research. I'm like, oh, it's because it hasn't fucking rained in so long, man. Like everything's dry. It's crazy.
Yeah, dude, I thought I was sick like for a little bit just because I was coughing and wheezing. It's just the air quality.
Yeah, it's just the air. It's not been good for people with allergies and good for people just like being out. It's just proof that we need to think a little better about the future and how we burn stuff and how we commit, fossil fuels and emissions and stuff like that. And I feel like people don't realize the effects until we have stuff like this, to where it's about to be December and we're in the 60s and 70s. That's not normal.
Yeah. So. And it's been a stark difference between, just the past couple of years, right? So it feels to me like the past decade, every summer, like, oh, this is a record-breaking heat. We've never seen anything like this before. Very next summer, we're hitting record-breaking heat. We've never seen this before.
Every single summer, you're right. It seems like the news is just like, this is a record. But like it used to be, the record was in like 1955.
Yeah.
Now it's like the record was 2 years ago. And then the record for next year is going to be this year's record.
Yeah. I think what really stands out for this year is that how far it has extended. Because I remember when I first moved here in Philly back in 22, like October was like that like month of demarcation. Like, hey, we are officially in fall. Yeah. And then like November hit, like yeah, every day your ass is wearing a jacket. Like you're gonna be bundled up and you're gonna be shivering and cold. This year it is ominous how warm it is so late into the season.
Very. Every single day that I go out and I pick up passengers, I'm just like, what are you guys wearing? Like it's just crazy because I'm not used to seeing summer clothes this late in the year, but I mean, I'm not surprised. And then, like you look at just what's been going on. It's like, well, it makes sense. Like the world is getting hotter and people don't see it until you realize the anomalies of, we should not be, it should not be this hot, this late into the year, going into almost Christmas, which is crazy to think about. Like I remember 10, 15 years ago, like when I was a kid and it was snowing now, it was like a foot of snow was on the ground. And now we're in flip-flops and shorts. Like, what is this? It doesn't make any sense.
Yeah, not at all. I'm kind of curious about like all like the ski resorts, like up in the Poconos, are doing about this.
Yeah, I haven't looked into that either. I'm sure they're either suffering / they're doing like the artificial snow route, because I feel like, if it's too warm, snow's not gonna.
it is way too warm right now.
Yeah, right.
And there's no telling how long it's gonna last. 'Cause, like usually in like December, they'll start like hitting it with like the artificial snow. Like the temperatures will
Yeah.
drop up to like low 30s where it'll start to like stick,
Mhm.
and then like natural snowfall can build upon it. But I would not bet on that
No,
for
no.
like this season. So I can
Not
only
this year.
imagine the pinch that they're gonna be feeling in the next couple of years as this continues, which sucks because I love snowboarding. But I don't really see that, extending into the future for at least Pennsylvania, for how, southern we are in comparison to like Vermont and like stuff like that.
Right. Yeah. I feel like that's a good point. I feel like when you think about climate change, you think about just the temperature in and of itself. You don't think about the industries that could be affected from the temperature changing. And one of the big ones is, like you said, ski resorts and like things that rely on the temperature. You know what I mean? Like if you're like going to a colder climate, but it's been naturally hot for the last 10, 20 years, your business / just the way in the future is going to suffer,
Yeah.
So you're absolutely right. That's a good point.
All the shore cities are going to be handling, like the changes in the temperature. You think they'll extend their season a little bit longer?
I think they will. I think that's a good point too. I think how like lifeguards are, I forget what the time frame is, but I feel like they'll have lifeguards now for another couple weeks, maybe another month, honestly, because I feel like all of September, when me and Angelo did our final couple of day trips, it was still very hot, but there was no lifeguards.
Yeah,
so,
September was hot as shit.
Right.
Like I know like Labor Day is like the official end of summer, but this dude, it's been going.
It has been. And I mean, obviously, again, like we're sitting here, it's as the time of filming this, the 19th of November in 2024. And I'm sitting right next to Glizzy's window, and it's a nice breeze coming in. It's not a freezing breeze, but it's a nice breeze. And I think the high today was like 62, 63, something like that.
It is 51 outside.
51, right. It's not even that bad right now. Crazy times.
Yeah. And like we barely got any rainfall today. Like, I stepped outside and like, it smells like it rained. Saw the ground, it was like little speckles.
Yeah, I
moisture
noticed that driving here. I saw a little bit of rain on some windshields, but like it wasn't too much. So I think the fires are still at risk. So if you're in Jersey, don't burn anything.
Yeah. So I've been watching the news and stuff, and like there's a certain amount that we have to hit as far as like rainfall to replenish the ground.
Right, to make it moist and to make it like not too much of a risk to have an ember fly off and literally start a forest fire.
Yeah, we're pretty far away from there. So if you're like that person that's like smoking cigarettes and chucking that shit out the window, gotta burn down the entire state. We'll find you. We'll kick your ass.
Burn down the entire state. That's crazy. So yeah, that's been crazy lately, and I'm glad someone else sees it, because I've been noticing that as well. I'm like, why is it so fucking hot?
Yeah, and why aren't people like more concerned about it? That's the pairing of it, It
is, right.
Why is it so hot, and why don't enough people care about it? Why
people don't care? And that's a good segue actually into our next point. Me and Glizzy wrote down that people's attention spans have been dwindling, because I can relate. I'm sure he can. And I've seen just in the last couple of months how it's hard to focus on certain things and see what's been going on, specifically because of social media.
Yeah.
And specifically because people's attentions are just in other places that aren't for important stuff. And, this isn't a political podcast. We're not going to get political, but the election just passed, and I feel like people should be focusing on important issues, but we're not. We're focusing on our phones, and we're focusing on memes, and we're focusing on stupid stuff, to where, let's put our energy to where it's needed, to where, like we were just saying with the weather, why is it so hot, and why are we having historic fires in New Jersey? So I don't know. I don't know if there's a fix for that, because I feel like we're all addicted to our phones. And
the brain rot is absolutely real. Like, hey, how can we make this super addictive? So there have this endless stream of ads being shoved into your face, endless content being, blasted in front of your eyeballs, and it's just to get you back into the app and constantly doing that little flicking thing while you're taking a dump, You're just there forever. It's the endless, the endless scroll.
Yeah.
And like, what can we honestly do about it besides like figure out better habits? I don't know, but I'm telling you right now, like as we're making this podcast, I'm on Instagram looking at things, and getting like notifications, like
right. It's like pretty hard. I mean, obviously, like me and Glizzy have a lot of friends with ADD and ADHD, so like that plays a factor as well.
Shout out to the homies.
But you're right. Shout out to the homies. But unfortunately, even if you don't have ADD or ADHD, social media, like he just said, is designed. So it's kind of hard. Like unless you're rocking a dumb phone, which if you are, I don't know how you're listening to this podcast right now, like maybe on your desktop at home. But if you have a dumb phone, then yeah, you don't have access to social media and maybe you can't relate to what we're saying. But if you're like 99.8% of the population who has a smartphone, you can relate to what we're saying because we were going to talk about it as a later point, but I guess we'll talk about it now. Phone addiction and the infinite toilet doom scroll, as I like to call it, is something I've noticed that I've been doing so much more lately. And it's become not only a bad addiction, but a lengthy addiction. There are days where I wake up and I spend literally about an hour and some change in the bathroom. And I have no problem admitting that. I know it's a problem. Like I'm like still waking up, I'm still doing my business. It's not like I'm just sitting on the toilet for no reason. But at the same time, I could have been done probably a half hour ago, but I'm still sitting there on my phone and I'm just wasting my day, wasting my time. And it's because these apps are so addicting and you get that surge of dopamine, specifically that early in the morning, and you're like, I want more, I want more, I want more. And it's quite frankly infinite. So if depending on if you force yourself out of it or not, you could sit there all fucking day if you wanted to. So it's bad. And I'm actively trying things to get out of it because I don't know about you, Gliz, but it's bad for me.
Yeah. Maybe we just start telling people they smell like shit. It's like
right. Get the fuck out of the bathroom.
Yeah.
Right.
It's like if you're sitting on the toilet for like 30 minutes, something's starting to crust up, man.
That's a good point.
And you're not wrong. If you don't got those Japanese toilets, they're like
the fucking bidets, right.
That's right. There's gonna be a little bit like
That's
stuck in there.
Point.
And like people are like, oh, you gotta wash your ass. Like, all right, like yeah, like you have to, right, in the shower and stuff like that. But how much access do you have to a shower throughout the day? If you're like, dropping a deuce on company time, right?
That's a good point.
Where are you gonna be hopping?
And you're sitting there for a half hour. I mean, you don't really have access to a bidet or a shower, so your crusty asshole is gonna be a crusty asshole all day.
So we're gonna start a campaign.
Right.
We're gonna just say like, hey, dude, you smell like shit.
Right.
And that's how we're gonna fix the brain rot in America.
Glizzy 2028. That's a good running slogan. But yeah, it's pretty bad, man. For me, it's Instagram, man. Listen, I love a good brain rot meme as much as the next guy, but it's getting to the point, man. I spend so much time, and I need to fix it because I'm quite frankly wasting my day. But on top of that, I just am not consuming good stuff. And I'm like, that's something that we're going to talk about later. But like, there have been some good things that have been happening in late, like 2024. But I usually try and balance out the bad with good. Like at night, I'll watch like documentaries on YouTube or Hulu and stuff. And like, I guess educate myself. Yeah. Or this podcast to anyone else to try and balance out all the fucking brain rot that I put into my body in the beginning of the day, which again is kind of like my breakfast at this point. That's not good, dude. That's literally my breakfast in the mornings. So if you're doing that, do your best to get out of it because it's consuming me. So I'm sure it's consuming a lot of other people. And it's just something that I feel like is digging into our deeper attention spans and why we're all so addicted to our phones because these companies are making billions off of us sharing brain rot. So
yeah, go outside, go touch grass.
Yeah, go for a walk. Go call a loved one, tell your mom you love her. Do something productive. Don't just sit on your phone. And I'm not saying don't look at memes. I'm saying don't spend an hour and a half while you got a crusty asshole looking at memes.
Right. It's all about balance, dude.
It's all about balance, correct. And that's a good point to our next one. Our next point that we wrote down was mental health and forming good habits. Because not to get too personal, but the last couple of months have been not fun mental health wise. And I've been struggling a bit. I have no shame to admit that, but I'm feeling better now.
Good.
Don't be ashamed if you're listening out there to get help. Don't be ashamed to possibly talk about medicine if that's an avenue you want to go down. Don't feel ashamed that people are going to make fun of you. Don't feel ashamed that you're not normal. All these things I've had to learn firsthand. And thankfully, I'm coming to the end of a long tunnel that I put myself in. But mental health, I feel like, has just been declining nationwide / across the world. So like that's why we're talking about it on this podcast, because I feel like the more and more people that I talk to in my car while I Uber and Lyft, and just the people that I interact with and see around when I'm shopping and like just like walking down the street, people are hurting. It's a hard time to be alive.
We have going back to that short attention span. It's been 4 years since we had a global pandemic where we were forced to stay in our homes, and our only form of entertainment was these screens. They're constantly interfaced.
It's a good point.
Now we're back to quote unquote normal, living, but we still have, those coping mechanisms that we developed during COVID. And, we as like older adults, like we're in our late 20s, I'm in my 30s, right? We have tons and tons of life experience prior to that. But there's so many young folks that, they went through the most pivotal, growth in their development during a pandemic.
That's a really good point.
I wonder how that will impact their future and how they cope, different challenges throughout life.
Yeah, that's a really good point. Most of the growing that I could attribute in my 20s happened in my early 20s. That I like formed how I am and like my true personality and just what I see as my ethics and my morals and everything that's been going on. So I feel like going through an isolated time where things were so uncertain and things were so weird, you're right. It probably has done some long-term damage, and we don't really know the effects of that yet because these kids are technically still kids. So it's like we don't really know the extent. And I mean, even if you want to focus on how we've been, I mean, I feel like a good part, maybe not all of it, because there's underlying issues that I'm not going to touch on right now, but a lot of, at least a certain point of my mental health probably recently has stemmed from COVID just kind of being bottled up. And I didn't really address it. So now I feel like it's kind of hitting me all at once with the other problems that have been going on in my life. But I can't help but think some of it's probably from COVID. So I can only imagine these kids that are a lot less developed than us, The
way they have to go through school, because like you and I, like we were, socialized.
Yeah.
They had to like do a lot of their socialization during like a critical phase in their life behind a screen.
They had to go from being social every day to literally switching to Zoom and switching to, yeah.
So like I can understand why a lot of people feel lonely nowadays, but they don't have like those social skills to go out there.
They
and
don't.
meet
Yeah,
people.
you're
absolutely right. I think that's why it's so hard, like, for the younger folks to really make these connections to, build up their morale and find joy out there in the world.
It's hard to find confidence in yourself when the time you were supposed to learn that was kind of put off.
Yeah.
Right? Like them pivotal situations that you would have went through in high school are now online. And as someone who's in online college right now, I'll tell you, I'm a year left. I've never been on a campus and probably never will. So I can't sit here and say I relate to campus life. I don't know what it's like to have on-campus friends. I don't know what it's like to sit in a dorm room with 6 other people and, share an Xbox and share a microwave and do this and do that. So, but that's different. That's college. That's like, like your 20s. That's when you're a little older. High school and middle school, I can only imagine.
Yeah.
That's a little different, So.
Yeah. And now we're back in 2024. They missed out on all those, key experiences. Now they've just thrust it into the beginning of adulthood.
Yeah.
And what resources do they have?
Exactly. Right.
What core experiences can they recall from and navigate, being a young adult? Because there's no handbook, there's no manual, there's no fucking blog or something to really guide you. Now there's like podcasts out there of varying different like.
There's YouTube videos, there's podcasts, there's friends, there's family, but
whether you take that stuff, like,
whether you take that
seriously,
stuff at face value, and again,
dude,
I've learned, I mean, the last 2 months, I've had to learn that, even though I love a good YouTube video, teaching me about a topic and making me feel like I'm educating myself, professionals are there because professionals are there. And obviously, like, we're not going to get too much into this because our friend Sabrina, if you're listening right now, hello, she's going to be on a future episode when we dive more into mental health. She actually does this for a living, so we're going to leave this topic for her. But just in the topic of you need to do better things and like create good habits. And that was the other thing we wrote down on this topic. So let's get into that. Like the fact that if your mental health is suffering, like mine was, and like a lot of other people's have, I feel like the best thing you can do for yourself is not only distract yourself, but you need to figure out what habits you have and what habits you could, quote unquote, change to start to get to a good / better habit for yourself. And I'll bring up 2 right off the bat. I started this year as a smoker. I was a cigarette smoker from 14 to about 24. And then the last 4 years of my life, I was a vapor. I kind of smoked cigarettes off and on, but I mainly vaped. I started this year as a vapor, and now I'm not. I quit. I did my best. I mentally / physically got off the nicotine, and I just put it down, and I'm glad I did. So I made a better habit. I'm not dependent on it anymore. I don't get mood swings. It's better for my wallet. It's better for my head. It's better for a lot of things. So that's one. And then the other thing is more recently, I've been, technically you can call me straight edge now because I haven't even drank alcohol in the last 2 months. It's not saying I'll never drink alcohol again, but from the mental health struggles I've been having, plus the fact that I don't find it as fun as it used to be, because probably of age, and probably because if I have 3 beers one night, I wake up with a stupid hangover. I think that's the cost of getting close to 30. But I haven't found the same joy. So I kind of just like put it to the side, and I've been straight edge now for probably, I think it's like 63 days. So both of them things in conjunction with a couple other things that I've been doing, like going on walks and trying to do best with my diet, have been helping. It's not the end all be all, but it sure as shit isn't hurting,
First thing I want to say is I am very proud of you for sticking to sobriety and going through that inner challenge to do right by you, right? I think a lot of people can relate to that struggle of like, hey, I have this, thing that helps me cope with the challenges of life, but recognizing like, hey, these coping mechanisms are inherently unhealthy. They're only doing you a disservice down the road, and making a stand saying, hey, that's not for me. Proud of you for that one.
Thank you. So, it's hard. Yeah. It absolutely is hard because you make a really good point. It's something that helps you get by. Like I used to grab my vape probably 500 times in one day and just take a hit because of something. It would like help me calm down. It would be right after
someone cut me off.
Fucking asshole. Right. Yeah. Right. So it would help me get through life. But like you wake up one day and you realize like, okay, this isn't as healthy as it could be. I could replace this with something else. I need to do better, physically health wise, like my lungs and my head. And so I don't know. I feel like with everybody, you just wake up one day and you're like, you know what? Fuck this. I'm done. And that's kind of what I did with a lot of things this year, but they're probably the 2 biggest ones. The vaping is the biggest one. I've always been off and on with alcohol, but like vaping was always a constant thing from 14 on. For God's sakes, that's why I'm called Newport Shorty. But anyway, we'll sandwich that. But the fact that I still can't believe that I haven't put nicotine in my body for 9 months, and I can't believe that I haven't hit a vape in 7 months. So it's been a journey.
Yeah. I mean, there's a few quotes that, I've kind of attached myself to. It's helped me kind of keep myself on the straight and narrow when things get hard. One of them is every day gets a little easier, but you got to do it every day. That's the hard part, but it does get easier. So there's a lot of different coping mechanisms that are healthy. But it sucks. It hurts. It takes dedication. Like for me, I like going to the gym. I like working out. I've picked up a caffeine addiction,
Yep.
which we'll figure that piece out later on. One problem at a time.
One problem at a time, correct.
But I made a not just like habit, but like it's like a ritual for me. Like I have to do this. So I always believe, and this is the second quote, is that discipline does what motivation can't.
Yeah.
So the time to go to the gym is not when like I'm feeling great and it's all sunshines and rainbows. It's when it's hard and I don't feel like going, and I'd rather just stay in bed and just like be a vegetable for a little bit. That's when I know, like, hey, you got to put yourself out there.
Yep.
Do the hard part, right, to make it easier for yourself down the road. Because I know that, we kind of joked about like getting close to your 30s and stuff like that.
Yeah.
And what I've noticed is a lot of people like think like turning 30 makes you like a decrepit old person that is, geriatric. I'll be real with you. I don't know like, the actual definition of that. That might be like that might be there, right?
Let's just say our backs hurt every single day now.
Yeah,
You know what I mean?
like that is not me. Like
right.
if you see me at like concerts and stuff like that, I'm going hard the entire time.
Right. Yeah.
I am putting work. Like when you go to like emo nights and stuff like that, you're tracking your calories. You're burning like 3,000 calories.
Literally, yeah.
And just like 3-hour, 4-hour event.
Yep.
Like, dude, we can go the distance.
A lot, yeah. Like you got to take care of yourself. Like you got to get to that point where like you can do it, but there's days where I don't know. I just feel like you just wake up and sometimes you need a little push, and like sometimes we would use them vices or like the bad vices, right? Like you would use the bad vices to get by, but like once you start changing them into good ones, like again, like the fact that I've been walking, even though I didn't go into this, but I've been walking a lot more, and I've noticed that not only is my mental health improved from it, because I can put my headphones in, I can just walk around the park, and I can just, get my emotions out through singing. I don't care if anyone hears me.
Yeah.
But then on top of that, it's also just, you just feel better because like you're getting out and you're walking and you're not sitting, rotting somewhere.
Yeah, a little hucker
feels
walk.
Good. Yeah, right. Feels good, right. People need to start educating themselves. I feel like no matter what side of the world you look at, I feel like no matter who you talk to, I feel like no matter what you're going through, the world is a nutty place right now. And I feel like a lot of people are either uneducated, or even if they know a little bit about a topic, they don't further educate themselves to know more. And I feel like that's a huge problem, because I'll come out and say it. I feel like a lot of people are dumb today. I feel like a lot of people see a headline. I feel like a lot of people follow what someone says and then just see it as truth. And I absolutely hate that. I feel like people need to, again, we all have supercomputers in our pocket. You're listening to the podcast on one right now. I have a computer in front of me at all times when I'm at home. And then all you need to do is just go to Google and type in the topic you're talking about and go to some reputable sources and educate yourselves. Like I said, this isn't a political podcast. I just feel like with anything, I feel like with any topic you bring up, people just either don't know what they're talking about, or just people just refuse to educate themselves because they think they know everything. And like newsflash, no one knows everything. There's so much information in the world, and you need to constantly educate yourself. People are very ignorant nowadays, and I don't like people like that. I like having debates with people, and I like talking. Obviously, I'm a yapper. I'm a professional yapper, but I don't like yapping with people who don't know what the fuck they're talking about.
Yeah, for me, like I always come with the perspective that hopefully I'm one of the dumbest people in the room. And I mean that sincerely. I hope that I'm surrounding myself with people that are intelligent and thoughtful and put forth the effort to really understand the topics that they're talking about.
Right.
When people don't do their due diligence, quality research, go to reputable sources and understand like, hey, what are the biases that are involved with this? What are they trying to get after? Is this malinformation? Is this disinformation? Or is this something that you can actually, utilize in a conversation to really further your understanding of something? So hopefully, you are surrounding yourself with people that are putting forth the effort to make sure that they're, providing quality information, things that can be fact checked, peer reviewed, right? Something that can be corroborated with like other sources out there. That is a way that you can, verify like, hey, this is, quality information that you're taking in. Like if you go into some crazy, website or something that clearly has a spin that's just confirming your own, beliefs in something, you're putting yourself in an echo chamber. You're not going to actually learn anything. You're just going to reaffirm, some bias that you have, and you're going to put that in someone's face. Like, oh, well, this is true because, Joe, what's his fucking face, says it so
Right.
on his podcast. Like, all right, cool. That's like one perspective. Have you thought about, the other side of that argument? There's two things that could be true. Multiple things could be true at once. What are you being fed? What is someone trying to make you subscribe to? Or like, how are people trying to change the way you think? Because again, like we talked about earlier, we have these, smartphones that, can help us. But they can also, hurt us at the same time.
They can absolutely break us.
Yeah. Because again, social media was created by a team of psychologists that make it inherently addictive to shove information in your face.
Right.
What kind of information is getting shoved there? Is it, accurate and truthful? Or is it, something to make you believe a particular way?
And yeah, that's not to say that there isn't this stuff that exists on social media. I mean, like I'm a very mixed bag when it comes to, if you looked at my social medias, Facebook in particular, I'm subscribed to some interesting groups, some informative groups, and then obviously some meme groups. So depending on the time of day and depending on how long my scroll goes, it'll be mixed between memes and, oh wow, I just learned something. Like for instance, there's this group that I like. It's called the Dull Men's Club. And it's literally as it sounds. It's people, mostly men, but some women. They will upload very interesting, dull facts or very interesting, dull things that have happened to them. But usually it's coupled with a school lesson or like an informational lesson to like tell people like, hey, like if you don't know about this topic or if you don't know why this is cool / dull to some people but interesting to me, here's the reason why. And I thought this group was so cool the first time I saw it. It's literally this guy, like this one guy was talking about how he counted every single rice grain in a box of Minute Rice. And he went into like the reasons why he did it. He went into the reasons why our brain was like looking for the resolution. Like it was like very interesting to me. And it was the most dull thing I ever heard. He was like, yes, there was like 22,000 rice grains. Like you look at that post for the answer, but for me, it's also, you look at the post for the answer, but also like, why did he want to do that? Who wants to sit down and open a box of rice and put a pile and then literally go 1, 2, 3, 4 till you get to 22,000? Who wants to do that? So it's a bit dull, but it's also really interesting to me,
Yeah. Well, that person clearly has got some clout now because like they
that
are
person's
the guy
got a little bit
or
something
gal
going on.
that counted, a box of rice. I mean that is inherently pretty interesting.
Yeah.
And there's a lot of stuff that's out there that's just like, hey, what if? It's just absolutely fascinating. Like for me personally, when I just want to like really just kind of zone out, I'll put on documentaries, dude.
Yeah.
Like I am a huge fan of like Planet Earth, like anything that's got like Sir David Attenborough, like that kind of stuff.
Yep.
Like that's my jam.
Yeah, me too. I love documentaries.
Different like podcasts to supplement that stuff.
Right.
But it's got to be like fun, interesting content that has a level of value to it. Am I ever gonna need to know the inner workings of a penguin that is ridiculously large in comparison to the rest of like the other birds that pop out of an egg? No,
No,
I
it's
want
fucking cool.
I want to know all the facts about that
Right.
pesto penguin.
Right.
Have you seen pesto? That bird is massive.
Yeah.
That is a massive bird.
Right.
I want to know all the facts about it. Like,
I
is
know,
it going to help
yeah.
me out in life? Is that going to help me out in life? No. Do I need to be on the grind 24/7? No. But I think quality content like that, helps us out in the grand scheme of things, right?
It absolutely does. It first of all, learning is fun. If somebody tells you otherwise, they're a very boring person and you should stay away from them. Learning is fun. Figuring out information is not only fun, but something we won't touch on here. It's powerful. If you know your way around words and you know your way around topics, you'll never lose. That's something I'm like literally learning right now in school. You're going to be able to control it / have all the information to know how to control it. So if you move that into the realm of learning about very niche specific topics, you could apply that knowledge to almost any sector of anything that you want to know about. And it's very, very interesting because, as like Lizzie just said, do we really need to know how many grains of rice are in a box? No, but it's fascinating. Why would anyone ever need to know that information short of maybe going on Who Wants to Be a Millionaire? And the question is, approximately how many grains of rice are in one 16-ounce box of, like white rice? Maybe, but it doesn't mean that it isn't fascinating to find out. You had a journey to get there. You now have another little tidbit of information in your brain. Your brain feels stimulated. You're not consuming brain rot. You're being a functioning member of society. You're actually turning into a person that is going to contribute to society. And that's my little rant. People just need to educate themselves. There's so much free information online. There's so many interesting things that exist that are just waiting for you to go look up right now. Like, it's not hard. Just, you should go do it. You should take an hour every day, like I do, usually at nighttime when I get done work, and I go on YouTube, and the people that I'm subscribed to make great informative documentaries on topics that I never thought I'd be interested in, but you watch and you're like, wow, not only is this person a good storyteller, the topic is fascinating. And then an hour flies by and you not only learn something, you didn't just sit on Instagram and doom scroll and watch stupid memes.
You ever watch like Casually Explained?
Yes, I am subscribed to him. Very cool. See, there you go. Like, that's literally an example we can both relate to. Right.
Free plug.
Moral of the story is, we have things in our pockets to prevent us from being dumb, so stop being dumb.
Yeah. Stop using it to make you even more dumb.
And feeling like we're all dumb, another segue, is how sometimes it feels like we're all in a reality show. Why does it feel lately that we all need to like look into the corner, into the fourth wall and be like, oh, you got me, that's a funny joke. Everybody clap, everybody, like applause. It seems like we're all in like a fucking simulation, man. The NPCs that I walk by sometimes, man, I'm telling you, I don't get it. People are just, I swear this place sometimes makes you think, are we all here for something, man? Like, and we're not going to put on our tinfoil hats tonight, but it's feels like we're all in a reality show sometimes,
I definitely feel like there's cameras watching me. Not like a psychotic, like
fucking Big Brother.
Like I'm, having an episode kind of deal. It always seems like random stuff that will pop up, in the headlines, in the news, or even like out and about, and like it makes me feel like this can't be reality. This can't be like a normal thing that's happening.
Right. It seems like that. I feel like sometimes the timing of certain things is very convenient. Very convenient that it just makes you sit and think. But like going back to what we just talked about, if it makes you think, pull out your phone and confirm if that thought is true or not, because we all have them. Yeah. But that's a good point, though. It feels like sometimes the timing of things, you sit and you're like, why did that happen right now? Why didn't this happen 2 months ago? Why didn't this happen yesterday? Why is this happening right now?
Yeah. Like, have you picked up on the trend of like celebrity lookalike competitions? Like,
I've noticed that.
Like, there's going to be a Miles Teller lookalike at the Rittenhouse Square this weekend. In addition to that, there is a Jalen Hurts.
There we go.
Lookalike competition in Washington Square later on in December. And then there's like the Jeremy Allen White one in
what is
Chicago.
This? I don't understand it.
And then like people are making memes of it. So like, I don't know if you follow like Shrek Rave on like Instagram.
Yeah.
They're also doing like, hey, we're doing
a Shrek lookalike.
Yeah.
Who looks like Shrek?
Yeah. I mean, like the timing of that. I mean, obviously it's part of like meme culture,
right?
But
could you imagine people walking up, looking literally, actually, without being green, looking like Shrek? Could you imagine that?
I mean, yeah, I've seen people.
Philly's a big place. Philly's
seen
full of people. Right. Wow. Yeah, I knew about it a little bit. I've been seeing them here and there, but like it makes you think. Why is that what we're
Well, like
on?
the Portal, dude. Have you checked that
Yeah,
out?
the Portal. Right. Yeah, the Portal. That's another thing. Right. Like that's a reality show element if I've ever seen one.
Oh,
I mean,
absolutely. Just like us being able to like live stream to like Dublin.
that's a big brother. That's a big brother.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know. It's weird. It seems like some days you wake up and your life feels normal, but then some days you're looking around, you're like, where's the cameras? Why are things off? Why are things feeling weird? I think honestly some of that is in your own head, and obviously that goes back to mental health, and we're not going to get too much more into that, but I feel like some days you just need to, I don't know, just keep living, and like things are fine. It's just like sometimes it feels like things are way too convenient for how things have been or how things are going, because you get too wrapped up in that, it'll make you think something's wrong, and then if you keep thinking something's wrong, well, eventually something's going to go wrong.
Yeah.
So
well, I also think on the flip side, there's like a lot of cartoonishly like evil things that happen,
Right.
and it's like this can't be reality. We can't be really like staring face to face with this kind of scenario. Like not even like the worst like Hollywood writers could like come up with this stuff. That's what I think about. Like it's all like imagine if like Earth was just like scripted, and like, I think it was like a South Park episode or something like that, where like
the
aliens.
entirety of Earth was scripted.
Yeah, and like I know like there's a few other shows that like hit on this topic. But like, could you imagine just like aliens like above us, just like, oh my god, like the 15th season of this is just going like it's jumped the shark. This is absolutely insane.
Oh, this is the episode where Joe goes to the beach and Joe sits on a beach chair.
Yeah.
I don't know, man. That reality is a little more distant and a little more tinfoil hatted to the one we're going to talk about now, which is how it seems like in the world today, you don't own anything. You don't literally physically own anything anymore. And I've been noticing this the entirety of 2024, but lately I've been noticing it a lot more because of the people that I've been watching on YouTube and things that I've been seeing in the world. The biggest example of this is, for me, it's software. The things that I use on a daily basis on my computer are now all subscription based. You don't own the software anymore. You own a license to use the software. It's kind of like Spotify. Like you don't own the rights to the song. You don't own a copy of the song. You own a Spotify subscription, which is a boiled down license in order to use Spotify on a monthly basis, month. So, and that's everything now. I feel like, we have in-app purchases for subscriptions for apps that used to be free, but now like for like plus features, like, I guess the biggest one is like Instagram. Like you pay $15 a month to get that blue check mark and a couple of more safety features. I'm like, $15 a month for what? For absolutely what? Now, obviously it's for businesses and it's for people that aren't famous enough to be verified, but like famous enough to where if their names like other people's, they may get confused. They want to make their account look better. Like there's like reasons for it, but like to like a layperson like me, I'm not paying $15. Like that's crazy. So it's like everything's like subscription now, and everything is like just like trying to suck your money, and I don't like it. I hate it. We have games that have like all this like in-app purchases and DLC now, and like you fucking buy a game.
It's broken up from the get-go.
Yeah, like for instance,
wait for
like
a patch.
the
then
biggest
all
one.
DLC.
Yeah, like the biggest one I can think about right now. I don't know if you heard about this. The Crew. Ubisoft made a game called The Crew. It's basically an open world driving simulator, right? I've played this game. I bought this game. Literally, it's on my Steam right now as we speak. But guess what? I can't play this game anymore. You know why? Because it was a literally online only game all the time. So even though I have the files on my computer, the physical files on my computer, I literally can't run it because the server doesn't exist anymore. And Ubisoft basically just yanked the plug. So it's crazy how I bought this game, but I can never play it again. because Ubisoft decided they weren't going to keep supporting the servers. Isn't that crazy?
That's absolutely insane.
And like, if you look that up, like if you look up The Crew right now on Google, don't just take my word for it. Like, people have dedicated articles like saying how companies keep doing this. Companies will sell you a game, $60, and then in 3 years when they come out with their new game, because they have The Crew 2 right now. Like right now you can go on Steam and buy The Crew 2, which is basically almost the same game with a different map, different objectives, different cars. It's kind of the same game, in my opinion. I have both. But the fact that like you can't play the original anymore because they shut down the servers. The $60 that I spent, I want a fucking refund. Like, that's wild. You know what I mean? You need to apply that to pretty much everything now. You are not like owning anything anymore. You're literally buying a license to use that until the company says, you know what, no more.
Yeah.
That's wild, dude.
I think like some car companies are starting to do that too. We're like, hey,
oh, the features, yeah.
Yeah, if you want like heated seats, you gotta buy this shit.
I think it was BMW that did that. I think they have like technology is physically in the car.
Yeah.
But the software is preventing you from using it unless you pay BMW more money. What the fuck is that, dog? That is some New World Order fucking crazy shit.
I will keep a car from like from the 90s.
Yeah.
and I'll ride that bitch until it falls.
You see what I drive?
apart.
I drive a 2012, dude. Fuck these new cars. I don't all these new features and shit. Like, yeah, they're nice. I mean, the road trip episode, we'll talk about that. But like, companies are trying to suck every penny they can out of you. And it's crazy. But like, that's even more crazy because I could kind of understand Business 101 because I'm learning about Business 101. Business 101 doesn't equal, hey, we're going to physically put this stuff in the product you're going to buy. But the software that allows that physical shit to work, we're going to hide behind a paywall. That's absolutely fucking ridiculous how they go through the R&D to make that shit work.
Yeah.
They literally spent time, money, and resources to program it like that on purpose.
Yeah.
That is absolutely fucked up. So
I would hope the free market would kick in and folks be like, nah, fuck that. We're not doing that. And just outright not buy that stuff. And like send a message like, hey, we're not dealing with that.
There are groups
give us
right
a
now.
working car.
Yeah. Or like give us the features that are physically present in the fucking car.
Yeah. Because what's going to happen is people are just going to start jailbreaking cars.
Yeah, literally.
Like we did with iPhones.
Yeah. That's why, if you ask me, in my opinion, dude, honestly, like I've been like watching these videos for so long. I mean, I'm not brainwashed, but like the fact that I keep watching these videos and I believe now that if you don't own anything, like say The Crew, right? Say right now, if I went online and I downloaded the full Crew game, right? The full files and somebody made it work offline, like I can play the game offline without the servers. Technically, is that considered piracy anymore? Because Ubisoft is not making any more money off The Crew. So technically, some people would argue and say that that isn't piracy. I'm not a pirate. And even though I already bought a license before, I'm not fucking doing any wrong. Technically, some people would say that that's not piracy. Companies are not allowing people. And again, like you see it with phones now, dude. It's like you see it with phones now. I see this one YouTuber that I'm subscribed to. I forget his name. Hugh Jeffries. He made a video about how iPhones, if you bought two of the same iPhone, Gliz, and you took them apart and you swapped parts interchangeably, like if you took the camera module out of one and put it in the other one, the software will literally say there's something wrong with the parts, even though they're literally identical. And it will force you to not be able to use the camera. And it, like once again, don't take my word for it. Look it up. It's real, dude. Like, even Apple, one of the biggest companies in the world, is doing this. It's fucking crazy, dude. You don't own anything anymore. Yeah. And it makes me sad because I love technology and technology is such an amazing thing, but it's also scary because companies have this power. Companies and businesses have the power to literally flip a switch and say no more. And that's really scary. So you got to be careful what you spend your money on.
Yeah. For me, a book that comes to mind is Future Crimes by Mark Goodman. And it talks about how technology is exponentially, increasing in capabilities. I think it's called like Moore's Law or something like that. Or like the computing power of like microchips increases exponentially.
Yeah.
And how like criminals are taking advantage of technology way before, like regular companies or like governments can take advantage of it, right?
Right.
So what comes to mind for me is how, reliant on technology we are, and how much of a vice grip these different companies have on this technology, right?
Big
So
ass grip.
yeah, it's like now everything's like switching. Like, hey, you got to use your phone to like pay for stuff. You can use it for all kinds of crazy crap.
Your phone's your ticket at concerts.
Yeah.
I hate that shit.
So like, if your phone breaks or like, you don't have access to it, you're kind of hosed. Like all your critical information to who you are as a person, like it's on here. Credit card information. If you lose your phone or someone hacks into it, right, you're kind of fucked.
Kind of fucked. Yeah, I would say so. It's a pretty scary reality. I am super excited for the future of technology because we've done so good. I mean, medicine and the technology in cars, the technology in our pockets, the technology that we use to stay connected, and the technology that we use every single day in our homes, smart homes, and everywhere you look, there's technology. So I'm excited because it's only going to keep getting better, but better with an asterisk because it depends on how we utilize it. Technology is going to keep getting better, but with the people in charge, they could make that better turn into better for them and not better for us, not better for the consumer, better for the fucking shareholders. And that's the thing that scares me the most. I'm very nervous about the future of technology. We now have AI, which still has a long way to go if you ask me. And sometimes on Instagram now, you'll see made with AI. And it's actual companies using AI in order to not pay anybody. It's literally companies being like, hey, schedule 10 ads with AI, but we're not going to pay someone to make the ads. We're going to pay no one. We're literally going to get AI to make these ads for us. That's a scary reality.
Yeah, we had that port strike here not that long ago here in Philadelphia, and that was one of the sticking points. Like, hey, ensure that AI does not take over all the core responsibilities.
It literally doesn't infiltrate what we have. Yeah, it's scary because I feel like no matter where you go now, it seems like every app you open now has a tab that says like AI, like Meta AI, Snapchat AI's stupid bot. The one app that I use literally for statistics now has an AI. I'm just like, every single app's going to have an AI soon. And it's a bit scary because again, we're trusting technology too much. We trust our phones too much. And I'm excited, but I'm also nervous. Which again goes back to the phone addiction part that we talked about in the beginning. Get off the fucking infinite toilet domes, the infinite toilet doom scroll, and start doing some shit that's productive and stop being on your phone. And as Gliz said, go fucking touch some grass. But next, the last thing we wanted to talk about was how it seems like, at least in my circle, and probably a lot of other people's circles listening to this, no one's having kids anymore. And if you ask me, that's okay. And I'll go into the couple reasons why I think that that's okay. First of all, I don't even want to live in 2024. What makes you think I want to raise a kid in 2024? Physically, financially, spiritually, mentally, emotionally. That sounds exhausting. And I'm already exhausted from picking up 10 strangers today. I can only imagine going home to a kid. So that's number one. Number two, the world around us is so different now that I feel like millennials and Gen Zs just don't want to have a kid. It's not the norm anymore. And that's okay. I feel like if you ask me, you need to focus on yourself. You need to do what's okay for yourself and stop thinking that having a kid is going to be the tell-all be-all for your life. And that's just one humble man's opinion. That's my opinion. I know some people want to be a mom. I know some people want to be a dad. I know some people think that's their destiny. I'm not taking that away from you. I just think that no one's having kids anymore. And if it keeps up, then we're going to have a different species moving forward.
Yeah, there's definitely pluses and negatives to, a declining birth rate. I think on the personal aspect of it, people realize that it's way too challenging to bring another life into the current state of the world. Everything's expensive. Most people are still living at home, or they're forced to take on roommates. Rent's getting higher, food's getting pricier. food quality is marginal at best,
Right.
right? There's a lot to take into consideration. I think people are just more empathetic to the impacts of that. Is me personally, the way I see things, like, hey, how could I, justify bringing someone into the world knowing that it's going to be that much harder to provide for them and give them the quality of life that I experience at the bare minimum, give them the quality of life that I experience. So like, wrapping up everything that we talked about with a nice little bow, right? Climate change having a significant impact on the world around
The future,
us.
yeah.
Like, fortunately, like it actually rained a little bit as we're filming this, but
Right.
was that rain enough to like?
Absolutely not.
Yeah,
It lasted for about 15 minutes.
yeah. Like it's getting hotter. There's gonna be food scarcity,
Yep.
Later on down the road because of the changes in climate. Or locations gonna be experiencing extreme drought that leads to fires and water scarcity, which leads to food scarcity. There's a lot to take in consideration. Like, hey, do we really want to bring another person into that? If your dream is to be a parent, I'm not saying you're selfish for doing that or anything like that. That's not the case. But for me personally, I recognize that there's some challenges that I may not be able to overcome to provide for someone else.
Right.
I think that's the case for a lot of folks. Taking into consideration, technology as it's advancing, got all these iPad babies, which, like, if that's your parenting style, that's your parenting style. But that's only going to contribute to, and obviously we're not doctors here. And did we do research before this? No, not really.
Absolutely not. No.
But like, you can just see, like, hey, people's attention spans is declining, and
it's
a lot
getting
of what
worse
we're
by the
doing-
fucking week.
and a lot of what we're doing is sticking these screens in front of our faces. So
Yep.
if you're getting that early on, that's your only development. It's like every time you go out, you got headphones on and cocoa melon and those little dancing fruits in front of your face. I'm sure that's enriching, right?
I'm
But
sure it is to a 2-year-old, but
There's more to life than just that, right? And there's a lot more experiences that need experience so they can grow up and socialize a lot more. We talked about COVID earlier, right? And how a lot of kids were robbed of, core experiences. Granted, like going to prom is not like a universal thing, across the globe. And, kids that don't go to prom grow up just fine, right? But like those interactions with people their age, playing, sports and games outside, like that part's kind of going away. But the kids you do see outside are just like little pieces of shit getting in trouble.
little pieces of shit. Correct.
And they're like, they're like
Absolutely.
they're going to Wawa. It's like the middle of the summer. It's like 500 degrees out because of global warming, but they got these shiesties on.
Shiesties on, hoodies on. Yeah, it's
puffer jackets on. It's like, dude, what are you
stop
doing?
making these kids right. Exactly.
And then all they're doing is like all they're doing is like ransacking the place, causing issues. It's like, where was your growth and development? And now I'm not saying that's like all kids.
No,
right?
no. But it's definitely a different kid today than it used to be when we were young.
Yeah.
And I understand it. I do. I think that, listen, as I'm sitting here right now, am I going to sit here and confidently say I'm never going to have a kid? No, I would never say never. 'Cause that's the one big thing that I learned about myself and just life in this year, that you really should never say never.
Yeah, thank you, Justin Bieber.
Thank you, Justin Bieber, because I didn't believe it at first, but now that I went through this year, my entire 28's proved to me that don't ever say it's not going to be you, because sometimes it can be you and sometimes it will be you. Change is inevitable and change is good sometimes. So my point, and I guess we'll wrap this up, is I don't think as of right now, I will keep it wrapped and I will continue to be safe because I do not want a kid. And I feel like the parents today are different, and that's a whole different topic. It's not just that nobody's having kids anymore. It's the fact that I don't think anyone can realistically be a good fucking parent nowadays, even if you have the resources, because everybody's so selfish and everybody's so focused on other shit. So, but that's a whole different topic. We're not going to get into that now. But yeah, just feel like no one's having kids anymore. And listen, if you ask me, that's one less car on the fucking freeway in 15 years. So yeah, don't have a kid. It's fine. At least for me, don't have a kid. So fucking pull out. You know what I mean? Swallow, pull out, get an IUD, get a vasectomy, stop having kids. But
your balls snipped.
Yeah, get your balls snipped. Do your due diligence. Be smart. But yeah, it's a pretty good episode. I feel like that's a wrap. Thank you guys so much for listening, and sorry for the delay. We're going to be coming back soon with more episodes. If you want to follow me on Instagram, my Instagram handle is NewportShorty_.
You can follow me at It'sTheRanimal.
And the ending quote for this episode is from Billy Joel, and the song is "We Didn't Start the Fire," pretty fitting for this episode. And the quote is, "We didn't start the fire. It was always burning since the world's been turning. We didn't start the fire. No, we didn't light it, but we're trying to fight it." And with that being said, please take care of yourself, be easy, make some good habits, and we'll catch you guys in the next episode.
See you.